You have always so far run all your retreats in English, am I right?
Yes, I'm running my retreats in English.
Yes.
I have sometimes some German guests, and then I also speak German, but mainly it's all English.
Yes.
And you are the one who brought forth the idea up to have a retreat for German people in German, to be
Yeah.
able to resonate with their own language and not switching in a different language.
No one else is offering retreats in German, as far as I'm aware, in Peru.
I'm not aware about.
But it was something I brought up because of my own experiences the last few years working with German people. What I felt from all that time spent working with German people and learning to do it in German as well had a big impact on me because it's sort of a way of, I think, tapping into the psyche of another people, another land, another nation. Once you're expressing yourself in their language, there was a unique kind of frequency to a lot of the struggles that a lot of the people we were working with were grappling with.
You shared with me when you worked in these retreats, just these German people together, that some energy were, if I understood you right, were accumulating,
Yeah.
going in resonance. And what you felt there, and I think it was also even communicated in between of some of the participants, that there was some collective, individually, collective, historically, ancestrally, shame and guilt coming from not maybe individually expressed or individually present in their life, but actually coming from collective historically, and the ancestors coming through what was still hold there from the last world wars.
Exactly.
And you found a power in that the German people were there together and could transform that together, or it was all working, something was working collectively in this group as well.
Exactly. I think even if it wasn't necessarily conscious, if you think about the fallout or the aftermath of the wars, and everyone's so busy shaming the German people as a whole, for the wars.
Then they're shaming internally as well.
But then where's the space and time to grieve the fathers and sons and brothers, partners that they lost in the war? Where's the space to do that and honor that when there's so much time being devoted to having to feel the guilt and the shame, or having to carry that in some way that's been loaded on, and this unresolved, unexpressed grief, as a nation, probably, as well as individually, communities and families. It's being passed down from grandparents to parents to the next generation. And, quite a lot of our guests say, I have this, I've been depressed for as long as I know, and I don't know why, or I have this anger in me and I don't know why. And I felt a lot of compassion for this. I come from a military family in the UK, so a couple of generations of my family were at war with the Germans or with the Nazis. When I was a little girl, my grandmother, whose husband obviously was at war and who lost her brother in the war, we lived abroad a lot, and whenever we were in the UK, my mother would hire cars to go and drive to visit her, and she would be so upset if Mum had unthinkingly hired a German car.
A German car was making her upset and triggering how much she blamed the Germans.
Exactly.
The Germans killed her brother or family members.
Exactly. So I relayed this on a retreat once, and I said there seemed to be a lot of sort of shame and finger pointing on the German people as a collective, and that I've been working with German people so much and knowing them and speaking the language and being in relationship with someone from Germany, I feel sensitivity and compassion to what they were bringing into these retreat spaces. I was very touched and moved to have been able to bear witness to that and work with it. And
probably your ancestors were watching it through you as well.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Yeah. But I was, and honored to be able to do that work and to be a part of that. And after I had expressed that, one of the guests, a lovely woman, got in touch with me privately and said, "Thank you for what you said. I'm really committed to this work, and I've always known that I've been committed to this work without question, but I've never really known why. And now I think I know why."
Yeah.
It was this unconscious thing coming down. having to do the work that her ancestors could not. They
Yeah.
didn't have the space to, or weren't allowed to, or
No.
you know. I hope that made sense.
Totally. You explained it very beautifully. Thank you for bringing that also so much in my awareness, and this interesting thing that shame and guilt pointed from the outside, but also probably from within, didn't make the space to process own grief and sadness for their lost people. So what happened, or how was that grief and the sadness actually unconsciously, the not processed, the separated grief and sadness actually forming and shaping the Germans in certain ways and the culture, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we know that there is some certain harshness or this famous discipline of the Germans, you know, to work through things, the mental stuff. Why I never felt, I think, very comfortable there unconsciously,
Okay.
because it was for me too mental.
Okay.
You know, but seeing that now from that lens, what you shared, you know, that it's actually not processed grief and sadness.
That was just a feeling that I had.
It's very interesting, very, very interesting for me. And it makes so much sense. It's really resonating with me. You know, what also came through, and maybe that's a little bit too far out, a little bit too, you know, but what came through for me at some point was like, imagine some of my ancestors were in the same wars, like your ancestors.
Yeah.
You know, and fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Or killing each other. I mean, I also know that people died in war, of course, you know, from my ancestors. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, and now we are sitting here and maybe co-creating a ayahuasca retreat for healing.
It was more of a question when I posed it, but it seems like it's this little seed that's been planted.
It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, if someone is listening that, I would, and there's some feedback, yes, do that, go for it. I would love to hear it, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Because most Germans or a lot of Germans I know speak the most beautiful English, but not everyone. And actually this work can be hard to do or tough to do if it's in a language
Where you're not
yeah.
feeling comfortable.
Yeah,
So on,
exactly.
which doesn't feel natural for you. Would be nice for me too, to speak a little bit more German
Yeah.
and connect to my Germanness.